Hey there, I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate.
And today we're taking a look at Furnace by Arcane Wonders.
Furnace is an engine building game in which you are going to be bidding on different cards in the market, not always hoping to win those cards necessarily, because you're going to receive compensation which will actually help you to further your advances towards your goals. And the person who makes the most money in this game is the winner. It's all about the Industrial Revolution, 19th century times here. And you've got factories and you're making coal or oil or something of those sorts. And so let's take a look at it down below. We'll come back and share our thoughts on this from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. All right, so this is Furnace, an engine building game. Let's check it out together. In this game, you are going to have factory cards, some resources, money, and auctioning tokens that you are going to be using to get these different cards you see here on the table. Now, I have a player mat here. This is not something that comes standard in the game. This is an upgraded component, and I was able to pick that up at Gen Con. I'm sure there are probably some out there that you could pick up. You don't need it, it's just for looks, but it does look nice. And in the game, you are going to make sure that everyone gets a set of 4 betting tokens in their player color. You are also going to assign someone the first player. You're going to give everyone a starting factory card, and you can, if you would choose to do so, assign someone a worker, player ability. These cards are going to give you something special that you're able to do throughout the course of the game. This one in particular, the first one that I showed you, their special player ability is that they're going to get an additional betting token of 2. And that's a neutral color, but it's going to be the player who controls this guy who gets to use that extra betting token throughout the course of the game. Now, on your starting factory card, you're going to gain the starting resources at the top of the card. So this one in particular says 2 coal. And on your turns, when you are producing, you're going to be able to follow what it says on the bottom of the card. And all the cards are different. And so you can see how just different it's going to be for you depending on what starting card you get. And these cards are one-sided. On the back side, there is nothing other than just some art. That's because you cannot upgrade your starting cards. We'll come back to what upgrading cards looks like here in just a minute. When you start the game, the starting player is going to place one of their betting tokens on one of these factory cards you see out here. And in a 2-player game, you're going to have 6. In a 3 to 4 player game, you're going to have 7 cards. And in a 4-player game, you will have 8 cards out here. And how this might work is the players can place any one of their betting tokens on any one of the cards. However, you can never have 2 of the same color on one card, nor can you have 2 of the same value on the same card. As long as it's a different value and no same colors on the same card, you're okay to place your betting tokens. And you don't have to do them in order. You can place them however you like. Now, whenever there becomes one that is higher than another, you're just going to stack these so that you can keep track of the values, because these, as you can see, are different shapes, and the increase in value is a little bit bigger than the ones before it, so that way you can easily tell that there are bigger ones on the same card. And after everybody places their tokens, then you are going to award them based on who bet the highest. And so I'm just going to throw these out here at random and give you an idea of what this could end up looking like. And so we'll do something like this. I think I did that right. Now, it might not be as evenly dispersed as you see it here. Let's put that one there. But it'll look something like this. And after everybody has done betting all of their tokens, then you will get to make resources. And how this works is you'll start down the line, and anybody who did not win the card, so in this case, the orange player has the highest bid, they are going to win this card. However, yellow and white, they also get something in return for placing tokens on here. They're going to get compensation, and that's going to be what is depicted here on the top of the card. And so in this case, you can turn steel into oil. And so if you had some steel resources, you could turn them into oil. And there might be a reason for you wanting to do that, because you might have some cards that allow you to turn oil into something else, such as money. That's the whole point of this game, is to get money. Now, the yellow player here, they're going to be able to do this 3 times. So they could turn 3 steel into 3 drums of oil. The white player is only going to be able to do it once. Now, the orange player, they don't get to do this because they actually win the card. And when they win the card, they get to take it. And from that point forward, they're going to be able to do this bottom action right here, which is they can turn steel 1 time into an upgrade component, an upgrade cog. And when they upgrade this card, spending the upgrade token here, they get to flip this card over, and it shows you here, it's grayed out what is going to be on the other side of this card. But you could turn up to 4 steel into $2 for each one. So that's a possibility of $8 from this one action right here. And so you can see why you would want to win a card, as you get to do what is ever on the bottom of the card. But sometimes you may not want to win the card. You might want to just be able to take advantage of what's on the top of the card. And so anyhow, you'll do this down the line. So this one went to the orange player. This one would go to the white player, black player, red player, black player, and yellow player, excuse me. And after everybody's been awarded their cards, then you can activate your cards. And so you can only activate each card once. And so let's go back to the orange-red player. I'm not exactly sure whether this is red or orange. However, they would be able to have these 2 cards, and you can activate them in any order in addition to your starting factory card. And when you activate it, you might just tap it like so to remind yourself you've already done that card. And when you activate the card, you have to do, you don't have to do everything that's on the card, but you can't stop, go to a different card, and then come back to the card. Once you activate it, that's it. You don't get to come back to it later on the same turn. And essentially, again, what you're trying to do is you're trying to turn these resources into other resources, upgrading your cards using your upgrade token to eventually get yourself money. You're going to play 4 rounds. This little counter right here is going to turn down until you get to 4 rounds. The first player token will pass to the other players, and whoever has the most money at the end of the game is going to be the winner. There are also these little trays here that you can use to say, well, I've got 3 coal or 3 steel. You get the idea, but that's what you get here inside of Furnace. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one. And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Furnace from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. Sam, first impression looking at this game, what were your first thoughts?
It was interesting. Everybody getting their own number tile, and the idea that you're kind of bidding for those. I like that idea. It seemed pretty simple.
Yeah, which I don't want to put words in your mouth, but for me, this looked a lot more complex on the surface, just looking at it. But when you get into it, it's very simple.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at the box, looking at the artwork, it looks like a Euro game. And it looks like it would be the theme of a Euro game. You know, it's 19th century industrialism and factories and whatnot, and you're producing resources. I mean, all of that speaks to Euro game. But this isn't a Euro game. This is a very simple, straight to the point kind of game. Sam, tell me from your perspective as a non-gamer, where was give me an idea of how difficult it was to learn this game.
It wasn't very difficult at all. It took maybe 1 round to just kind of get the hang of it and to realize what exactly you're doing, which ones mean more when you're bidding, which ones you really want to go for. But overall, I mean, it was very easy to understand. Then you just had to figure out what your strategy was going to be.
Yeah, so let's talk about that real quick. The strategy behind this game is really all about that bidding mechanic of what card do I really want to win? What cards am I not so interested in winning, but I really just want to get those resources from?
Yeah.
What cards do I want to keep other people from getting? And I think that's really the strategy behind this game. Tell me, how clear was that to you, and how quickly did you pick up on that?
It was clear. I think at the beginning I was way more focused on which card I wanted to win and didn't think too much about what resources I wanted. I just kind of got what I got. And then as it went on, I kind of realized, okay, so you need to focus on that big token, but it's also important. You don't want to get resources that you don't need or that you already have too much of, and especially as you're getting more cards, and those cards get you certain resources depending on what's going on, which sounds really complicated, but it means more. The resources start to mean more the more you go. At the beginning, you just want resources, but as it goes along, you want specific resources.
Yeah, exactly. And I would also speak to the fact of, you're guaranteed to always get one card because your 4 chip is going to get you a card no matter what.
Yeah.
But then it's also, could I use my 3 chip to get another card if I really needed 2 cards in one round?
Yeah.
How do I maneuver about trying to make sure that my 3 chip is going to win me a card? I think that was pretty interesting with this game, especially when you play at the 2-player count and you have that ghost third player who's just basically stealing cards away from you at the last minute.
And I think if asked, I don't typically like games where you're building a machine, where
an engine building.
An engine building. That's not always something that I go towards, but maybe I do like them more than I think I do. It sounds complicated, but it's once you understand that engine, it's a lot of fun. It's just learning to understand it. It's a lot of...
How do you get to that point where it's efficiently working for you? That's the work part in an engine building game.
Which can be fun. I think it's nice to have a thinky game every once in a while. It's nice to have those games where you don't have to think so much, but it is nice to have that, looking at it, figuring it out, doing the math, so to say, to do it, and it's satisfying when it works
when it works out. Yeah, exactly. Let's talk a little bit about the end result with this game, because it is all about money, who has the most money at the end of the game. And essentially, you're turning one resource into another resource into eventually money. And it's a process to get to that point. How rewarding is the overall experience when you go through all those hoops to get the money?
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I think you see the all your work turn into something.
Yeah.
I think I was a little frustrated because I felt like I did a really good job and I still lost. But yeah, it's very satisfying.
Okay.
I think that's the best word to use.
Yeah. And I would agree with that too. I very much enjoy engine building games. I think for some players out there that this is going to be one of those games where you are essentially pushing cubes or resources into, moving it here to move it there to get this. And it can kind of seem like a rote experience, kind of there's not a huge wow factor, I think some people might say, with that kind of experience with a game. But I think it's simple enough. It works really well with people who don't need big hoops to jump through when it comes to gaming. A big over the top experience with gaming. And
I think for me, and maybe it's other non-gamers, but specifically for me, I would rather have that. Man, I feel like I did a good job.
Satisfaction?
Yeah, satisfaction, than have a game that just has a big wow factor.
Yeah.
I think you just feel more accomplished with something like this.
And I think, if that's your expectation going into Furnace, you're going to really like this game. And it's going to be one that I think can hit the table quite often because it's a short game. It's 30 minutes. 30 to 60 minutes is what the box says, but I don't really see it going 60 minutes long unless you're just really analysis paralysis. But if that's your expectation, I think you're really going to like this game. If you're just going off the cover and the way it looks, even the size of the box would lead you to believe it's a bigger game than it actually is, because it's a pretty small space game. You might be a little set back by it. I wouldn't even say disappointed necessarily, because it's still a solid game. It's just not going to be what you're expecting, I think, for a lot of people. So if you have the right expectations, I think this is going to be one that works really well. So let's get into pros and cons real quick. Sam, you as a non-gamer, what were the things you really enjoyed with Furnace?
I mean, I think it's a pretty easy game to understand. It's easy setup. It's easy. I think there's the pros and cons. Pro is that it's easy to understand how to get the resources. Con, it could be confusing if you just don't have that mindset of how to build, how to work your
analytical, perhaps.
Yeah, that may not be your favorite part of the game. I can see that being more complicated. I think yes, I'm a non-gamer. We're not going to argue that again. But I have played more engine building games, so I understand.
Okay.
You know, when you play the same type of games, you kind of figure out, okay, this is where my thought process needs to go. But if you're playing with a non-gamer that's never played one before, that could be really difficult. So
Sure.
I think that could be a con, but not specific to this game, just specific in general to non-gamers.
Okay.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed it. And I thought, as far as engine builders go, this was not overly complicated.
Okay. Yeah. Pretty straightforward to the point. Any other cons or pros?
I mean, it was pretty quick. It definitely is not near the 60-minute, at least with the 2-player game. So,
okay.
And I like that you're playing with the third
Ghost. I don't remember exactly what the rules called it.
Yeah, but I liked that because it just added, I don't know, it wasn't just me and him. It's always just me and him. So, it's something else.
It's a way to kind of create more competition for those cards.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And there's another variable. You think you have a card wrapped up, but then the ghost comes along and takes it away from you. So it is a nice little change to the game. Well, there you have it. That's the pros and cons. Let's get to our final scores with this one. I'll go first and say I really enjoyed Furnace. It was one that I felt like has a pretty good hold in us being able to get it to the table quite often and playing it with a frequent rate. And so with that being said, I'm going to give this a solid 8. I think this is firmly in the 8 for me, 8 range. It's one that I will gladly get back to the table time and time again. I would like to see there be maybe new Furnace or factory cards and an expansion perhaps to kind of just give this game more replayability. But as it is, I think it's a solid 8 for me. What do you say, Sam?
Yeah, I was going to give it an 8.2.
Wow. So. Okay. We're right there on this one. That's Furnace. Would you recommend playing with a non-gamer?
If you have the right non-gamer, yes.
Okay, so this is going to be kind of just trial and error with this type of game.
Definitely is playable with a non-gamer.
Yeah. All right, there you go. That's Furnace from Arcane Wonders. Check it out.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.